Hello Imbibers, welcome to today's session. Once again we are here to discuss the another topic from the plant kingdom. Just like we have discussed several topics related to the plant kingdom in the previous lectures, we are here again to discuss the bryophytes. Yes, we have discussed about the algae in the previous session, and yet we have also attempted a very good number of questions related to the algae. Yes, we have discussed all the classes of the algae, the characteristics of the algae, and the major important pigments responsible and basically present in each and every class of the algae. So we are moving ahead towards a different topic of this particular chapter of the plant kingdom, which is the characteristics of the bryophytes. Yes, we are going to discuss about the characteristics of the bryophytes. Hello Soham, I hope you are doing really well. So children, before we start the class, you know what we have to do. We just have to tell you that on the Embibe app, whenever you are on the Embibe app, you can always go through the pre-class activities, and you can always attempt the post-class activities related to the topic, so that before coming to the session, you know what is going to be taught, and after the session gets over, you can basically attempt the questions related to that topic, so you know that you have understood you have understood the concept in a much better way. So before we start, let me introduce you to myself again. I am Anam Khan. I'll be your botany expert for the session 2023 and 2024. Majorly, we're going to discuss about everything related to the plants. Yes, just like we have already completed the 2 chapters of the biology. One is the living world, the other is the biological classification. We are moving towards the completion of plant kingdom also, but before that we have to discuss the bryophytes, the pteridophytes, and yet we have to discuss gymnosperms and angiosperm. Let's see what we have to discuss in today's session. Yes, the characteristics of the bryophytes. So children, the chapter which is the plant kingdom, you know these are the 2 topics which would be whole present in this particular chapter, which were related to the algae, which we have already done. Now we are moving to the division bryophytes, and after that we are going to discuss about the division pteridophytes. We are going to discuss about the gymnosperms, angiosperms, and the life cycles of all the members of plant kingdom in detail. Yes, in today's chapter, in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the concepts related to the bryophytes. So yes, we are going to discuss about what are bryophytes, what are the morphology, what are the external features which define that these are the bryophytes. We are going to discuss about what are the basic characteristics of the bryophytes, the classification, different classes of bryophytes. We are going to discuss about the little bit about the life cycle, the sporophytic, gametophytic life cycle of the bryophytes, and of course majorly the liverworts, the gemmacups, and of course the mosses. So these are the concepts which will be covered in today's lecture. Okay, moving forward, let's go through what we have studied in the previous session. So children, in the previous session we have detailed discussion about the algae. So if by any chance you have missed the session, it is already present on your dashboard. So whenever you want, you can just go scroll down and you can see all the past Embibe classes, and you can see this past session already scheduled over there. Okay, talking about the recap, what we have discussed about the algae. You know that they are the photosynthetic, and they are divided into 4 classes: chlorophyceae, phaeophyceae, rhodophyceae. Yes, these are the classes of the algae. Each and every classes have their respective pigments which are responsible for these photosynthesis. Yes, so children, algae, the reproduction could be asexual, sexual. Of course, they reproduce through various means: by the spore formation, by the gametic fusion, by isogamy, oogamy, and anisogamy. So these are, they could be unicellular, they could be multicellular, all these things we have discussed. Talking about the bryophyte, let's start with the very first thing about the bryophytes, children. So which division of plants exhibits a thallus-like body? So children, talking about the algae. So children, as you know, the algae are typically have a thallus-like organization. And why we say the thallus-like organization? That the whole plant body is not differentiated between the root, stem, and leaves. They might have characteristics similar to the root, stem, and leaves, but they do not have a proper root, stem, leaves, just like the higher plants. Yes, so initially we have described, we have categorized the cryptograms and the phenograms. Yes, the cryptograms which are having not seed in their particular plants, and yes, these are seed producing plants which are angiosperms and the gymnosperms. So starting with the algae, they have the typical thallus-like structure. Moving forward with the bryophytes, they also have a thallus-like body. The body is also not completely differentiated into root, stem and leaves, but yes, they do also have similar structure to resembling simply like root, stem and leaves and performing exactly same function. But we cannot say that they do have root, stem and leaves properly. The body is still in the thallus condition. So yes, we're going to discuss about the bryophytes, only the having the thallus-like structure. So the main features of the bryophytes, the main structure, the main characteristics of the bryophytes, children, they are known as the amphibians of the plant kingdom. You know what are amphibians? Amphibians which can live in water as well as the land. Those are called amphibians. So children, bryophytes are the amphibians of plant kingdom. Yes, you're not going to discuss about amphibians which are animals, of course. We're just describing that these are also called the amphibians of plant kingdom because, so children, they require water to complete their life cycle. They are present on the terrestrial surface, yet they require water to complete their life cycle. Again, they belong to the group called cryptogams. Yes, what are cryptogams? The seedless plants. Yes, they do not bear seeds. So those are cryptogams. You know the basic difference between cryptogams and phanerogams. The cryptogams do not have seed. Yes, the phanerogams have seeds. So the bryophytes fall under the category of cryptogams. The examples of the bryophytes are liverworts and hornworts. These are non-vascular land plants. What are non-vascular? It means they do not possess xylem and phloem. So that is why they are called as non-vascular plants. They do not have xylem and phloem. So that is why, children, why they are called amphibians of plant kingdom. So they are present on the land. They do not have vascular system. They are lacking phloem and xylem for the conduction, but to complete their life cycle, they need water. So that is why the amphibians, that is why the bryophytes are called the amphibians of plant kingdom. So just to complete their life cycle, they need water. So they are basically present on the land and yet they need water for the completing their life cycle. Moving forward, discussing about the bryophytes more, we have the morphology. What kind of an external features they have, what kind of a different characteristics they bear, keeping them under the different category of bryophytes. Yes, why we haven't kept it under algae, why they are not a part of pteridophytes, why they are not cryptogams, why they are not phanerogams or gymnosperms or angiosperm. So these are the few characteristics, the morphological characteristics of the bryophytes which make them unique. They fall under the category of cryptogams. Okay. Talking about the characteristics, children, the very first thing is the habitat. Habitat, you know what is habitat? Where they live. They are majorly found. So children, the bryophytes are majorly found in the humid. Yes, they are found in the damp and the humid and the shaded regions. They are majorly aggregated, they are majorly formed. Their habitat where they are present is the damp, shaded, humid places. Humid means there are content of a moisture present in the environment. The mode of nutrition is also like autotrophic. They can create their own food. They can act as a saprophyte. They feed on the other organisms, might be, and they could be epiphytic. They can live in the association also. Yes. So children, the mode of nutrition is also autotrophs, saprophytes, and of course the epiphytic. What about the plant body? What about the external organization? Talking about the plant body, the external organization, they have dominant gametophyte which is dependent on the sporophyte. What is a dominant gametophyte? Which is a gametophytic body which produces gametes. Children, what is a sporophyte? A sporophyte is a structure which eventually develops into a root, stem and leaves. So here When we talk about the gametophytic body, we are talking about the gametophyte, the male gametophyte or the female gametophyte. But we talk about the what? Sporophyte. Then we are talking about the root stem leaf-like structure. So talking about the plant body of the bryophytes, they have a dominant gametophyte. The gametophytic body which produces gametes is dominating on the sporophyte because it is totally dependent on the sporophytic structures. Yes, yet the gametophyte is dominant, but they are present on the sporophytic structure. They are present as the, you can say, as a parasites on the sporophyte. Not actually, of course, but eventually when the sporophyte develops, the gametophytic body takes on the control, it becomes more dominant with the structure. They have a thallus-like plant body. What is a thallus-like plant body? The body is not clearly differentiated into root, stem and leaves. And yes, completely absence of vascular bundles, which is the vascular tissue, which is the xylem as well as the phloem. So this is about the plant body. Once again, I am telling you about the gametophyte. What is a gametophyte? Which produces gametes. Talking about the sterophyte, which is a body which is differentiated into root, stem and leaf-like structure. Like, please remember, I am talking about like, I am not saying they have root, stem, leaf structures because they still have a thallus-like organization. The body is not differentiated into root, stem and leaves. What is the method of reproduction in the bryophytes? Talking about the method of reproduction in the bryophytes, we have vegetative reproduction, asexual reproduction and of course the sexual mode of reproduction. So these are the few method of reproduction present in the bryophytes. I hope this is clear since we have discussed about where they are found, the habitat, their nutrition, mode of nutrition, yet the kind of a plant body, the structure they have and about the reproduction system also. So these are the few general characteristics of the bryophytes. Yes? Any questions related to this? These are the general characteristics of the bryophytes. Yes? Here's example of Rixia has been given. Clear, children? Moving forward, discussing more about the morphology. Yes, we are going to discuss more about the bryophytes. Next, we have the gemma. Yes, what are the gemma? So, children, as you know, we have to discuss about the gemma. So, these are the green multicellular asexual buds. They develop into small receptacles called gemma cups. So, children, what are the gemma cups? As you can see, the gemma cups are present on the marcantia. What is the feature of the gemma cups in the bryophytes? When we talk about the gemma cups, these are asexual buds, multicellular asexual buds which basically develop into a small receptacles called gemma cups. Eventually, a asexual bud which is multicellular, which is present on the body, develop eventually into a gemma cups. What are the gemma cups, children? Eventually, the gemma cups detach from the parent body and germinate into a new individual. Yes, these are the asexual reproducing bodies which basically eventually just convert into a gemma cups, and these gemma cups detach themselves from the parent body and develop into a new individual. And these gemma cups are basically present on the marcantia. What are gemma cups? So these are the unique feature present in the bryophytes, which is multicellular asexual buds eventually develop into a gemma cups, and eventually they detach themselves from the parent body, and each will develop into a new individual. Okay, so these are the unique feature of the bryophytes. Yes. Moving forward, children, the classification of the bryophytes, the very important thing. Talking about the classification, children, the whole bryophytes are divided into three classes. One is the Hepaticopsida, next is the Bryopsida, and the third is the Anthocerosopsida. Children, the class Hepaticopsida is basically where the liverworts, which is called Rixia, belongs to. Next is the Bryopsida, where the mosses, you know, a very common example, Funaria belongs to Bryopsida. And next there is Anthoceropticida, which is the hornworts, will belong to the Ceratophyllum. So these are the three classes of the Bryophytes. Yes, Hepaticopsida, Bryopsida and Anthrocopsida. Yes, in individually each and every one is important. Talking about the liverworts, which is a member of Hepaticopsida. So in general, we are going to discuss about the features of the liverworts which belong to a class Hepaticopsida. So the Hepaticopsida has certain features which of course the liverworts have. Talking about the liverworts, which is a part of the Hepaticopsida, the plant body which belongs to the class Hepaticopsida is absolutely thyloid. Yes, it is not differentiated into root, stem and leaves. The thallus is dorsiventral and unicellular structure. It is dorsiventral, same on both the surfaces, dorsiventral. Yes, it is basically has a unicellular surfaces. Yes, next is the rhizoids. What are rhizoids? Children, please remember what are rhizoids. Rhizoids are the bodies which contain chloroplasts without pyrenoids. Do you remember, children, what are pyrenoids? Pyrenoids are the storage organs present in the algae. Yes, they were storing what? Starch. You remember? Again, there is a term rhizoids which are present in the liverworts belonging to the Hepaticopsida. They contain merely chloroplasts without pyrenoids, means they can do photosynthesis, yet they do not have pyrenoids to store starch. Pyrenoids were starch storing bodies in the algae. These have rhizoids. Rhizoids have chloroplast doing the photosynthesis, and after the photosynthesis, what do they make? They make starch, but there is nothing as a storage body present in their body. Okay. The asexual reproduction in the Hepaticopsida, especially the liverworts, is through the fragmentation. What is fragmentation? You know, the body divide into respective pieces, and each piece will develop into a new individual. And of course, just now we have discussed about the gemmae. Yes, these are the gemma, which basically through the asexual reproduction produce into a new individual. You know what are gemmas? Gemma cups, just now we have discussed. These are the asexual birds, multicellular asexual birds, which eventually convert into a gemma cups, and these gemma cups detach themselves from the parent body and develop into a new individual. So yes, the method of reproduction in the Hepaticopsida, and especially liverworts, is through the fragmentation and through the gemma formation. Yes, they also reproduce asexually. They also reproduce sexually through the male sex organ they have, which is called antheridia. They have female sex organ which is called archegonia. The gametes are present on the same thallus. It means the gametes, the male and the female gamete, the male and the female gametophyte are present on the same thallus, and gametes are present on the different thalli in the Markentia. So the Hepaticopsida examples such as Rixia and Markentia. In the Rixia, the gametes are present on the same thallus. When we talk about the Markentia, the gametes are present on the different thalli. Okay, this is the examples of the sexual reproduction. Female is Archegonia, male is the antheridia. In the Rixia, this is a very important point to be remembered. Talking about the Rixia, they have both present on the same thallus, while in the Markentia, both are present on the different thallus. These are the few features of the liverworts belonging to the class Hepaticopsida. Yes, they are bearing such kind of a characteristics. Yes. Moving forward, talking more about the other, which are the mosses. What does the mosses belong to? The mosses belong to the Bryopsida, yes or no? In short, we are discussing about the each class. The mosses belong to the class Bryopsida. Let's see what kind of a feature does the mosses have or the Bryopsida have. Talking about the feature present in the Bryopsida, we have the plant body is completely multicellular and branched, having rhizoids. Yes, as you can see, this is how basically the plant body looks like of the Bryopsida, which is the mosses. Yes, the plant body is multicellular and have branched rhizoids. Next, they have vegetative reproduction. How do they reproduce? The male reproduce through asexually through fragmentation and budding. You know both the processes. What is fragmentation? The body divides into different fragments, and each fragment develop into a new individual. By the bud formation also, the small bud outgrowth on the body detach itself, grows into a new individual. The example of such kind of vegetative reproduction in the Bryopsida can be seen in the polytrichum. Next, they also have the gametophyte, which possess a protonema stage, which is an leafy stage. Yes, they have a protonema stage and a leafy stages. Again, asexual reproduction can also be seen in the Bryopsida. They have Arthridia male, Archegonia female are produced on the same plant but with different branches. Means in the Bryopsida, the male and the female gametophyte are basically growing on the same plant, but they are not in the different, but that they are not present on the same branch. They are present on the different branches. Yes, the branches of the Anthridia and Archegonia in the Bryopsida, especially the mosses, are on the different branches. Yes, the Anthridium produces anthrozoites, which is a male gamete. Archegonium produces an egg, which is a female gamete, and the example of such kind of reproduction can be seen in the Funaria. How the fertilization happens? How the fertilization happens in the mosses? So, children, in the mosses, it is helped with the help of a water. Water help in the mobility or the fusion of gamete. The fertilization is because of the water. The gamete fuse to form a diploid stage. What is a diploid stage? Means 2n stage, and zygote develops into a sporophyte. Yes, after the fusion of gametes, they have developed a diploid stage of zygote. This zygote eventually convert into a sporophyte. What is a sporophyte? Children, sporophyte is a plant body differentiated into root stem leaf like structure. So, yes, the mosses show root stem leaf like structure, a multicellular plant body which have rhizoids, because the sporophytes develop into that kind of a structure. So, yes, after the fusion of gametes, which is because of the water, they basically develop into a sporophyte. The diploid zygote develop into a sporophyte. So, this is all about the Bryopsida's feature. Yes. Moving forward with the last, which is the gametophytes in the Bryopsida, which is the liverworts. Yes. So, children, what is the gametophyte in the liverworts? So, talking about the gametophyte, children, it bears Anthridia and Archegonia. You know what is a gametophyte? Gametophyte means male gamete and Archegonia and Archegoniophore. Yes, the male sex organs are present on the anthrophore. The female sex organ are present on the Archegoniophore. Yes, the gametes fuses to form a zygote eventually, and the zygote develops into an embryo and forms a diploid sporocyte. As you can see, the liverworts, children, this is a female thallus and this is a male thallus. Yes, and the liverworts, Markentia, female thallus, male thallus. This is the Archegoniophore, which produces what? Which produces female sex organ. Yes, this is Archegoniophore and this is, I think, the wrong one. Just a second. There is Anthridiophore and this is Archegoniophore. The Anthridiophore, which is a male thallus, of course, will give a male thallus. This has to be Anthridiophore. This is Anthridiophore. That's why I got confused. This is Anthridiophore, which is a male thallus. This is Archegoniophore, which is a female thallus, which produce a female gametes, and the Anthridiophore, which produces a male gamete. Yes, they will produce gametes fuse to form a zygote and eventually form a diploid sporophyte, which will eventually convert into a root stem leaf like structure. Next, children, as you can see, these are the liverworts. This is how the liverworts look like. Yes, let's see. As you can see, children, these are the liverworts. Yes, they are present in the moist environment. You must have experienced this yourself. This is how they basically look like. This is a haploid gametophyte. Yes, this is how they look like. These are the gemma cups. This is what I was talking about, acellular structures, asexual mode of reproduction through the gemma cups. Yes, this is a female gametophyte, Archegoniophore. This is N3DO4, which is a male gametophyte, which will produce male gametes, and these will basically produces male gametes which basically fuse to form a diploid zygote, and diploid zygote will give rise to a sporophytic plant body or a sporophyte. Yes. Now the gametophyte in mosses. So children, in the mosses, the gametophyte, as you can see, sporophyte, capsule theta, yes, this is a gametophyte. This is what we talked about, right? The dominant structures. Yes, the gametophyte is monoecious. Yes, the Anthridium produces biflagellate anthrozoids and Archegonium produces one egg. The fertilization in the mosses also result of the water. This is what we have discussed when we are discussing about the mosses, that the fertilization is possible only through the water. The mosses fertilization occurs through the water. Yes, the fertilization involves water. After the fusion, the zygote formation takes place, and this zygote develops into a diploid sporophyte. Eventually, this diploid sporophyte will basically look like this. This is a diploid sporophyte, children. This is a capsule theta. Yes, this is what a sporophyte. The capsule just generally look like what? As you can see, it looks like a leaf. The theta look like a stem, but they are not like that. Yes, and this is your gametophyte, having leaves, main axis and rhizoids. So sporophyte and the gametophyte. Clear? So this is about the Bryophyta, children. The Bryophyta bears the fertilization is through the water and the zygote formation, which lead to the formation of the what? The diploid zygote, and the diploid zygote will convert into a what? A sporophyte. A sporophyte will have foot theta capsule, and there is a gametophyte also present on the sporophyte. Yes. Moving forward, talking about the sporophyte of which is divided into foot theta capsule. This is what I talked about, children. Foot theta capsule, the foot represents the root. Yes, the theta represents the stem. The capsule represents the leaves. Yes, this is what they basically. Yes, this they basically look like. In Rixia onia, capsule is present. Capsule have spore mother cells and undergo meiosis to form haploid meiospores. Yes, can you see this? This is foot theta and of course the capsule. So the capsule forms, undergo the process of meiosis and produces meiosospores. The haploid spores produced during haploid gametophyte, these germination to form protonema, and the protonema forms buds and form leafy gametophyte. Sporophytes of bryophytes are technically different. If you saw, they are divided into root, stem and leaves like structure, which is called foot theta capsule. The capsules have what? The mother cells, spore mother cells, which undergo the meiosis process and form meiospores. These meiospores are haploid gametophyte and they germinate to form a protonema. A protonema will eventually give rise to a leafy gametophyte. Yes. So children, the capsule which bears the spore mother cells will undergo the process of meiosis. You know what is meiosis? The reductional division. When the mother cells undergo the reductional division, they form haploid meiospore, and this haploid spore meiospore will convert into a leafy protonema or gametophytic leafy structure. Yes, this is about the sporophyte of the bryophytes. So children, talking about the life cycle of the bryophytes or the liverworts, they basically have the gametophyte which is dominant over the sporophyte. Yes, the gametophytic body is dominant over the sporophyte. There is an alternation of generation present. What is alternation of generation? That there could be a sporophyte, there is a gametophytic stage, there is a protonema stage. So there are alternation of generation. The zygote develops into a sporophyte and release spores. The spores produces new gametophyte. Yes, this is what I was talking about. This is the life cycle. This is the whole alternation of generation, that the spore zygote develops into a sporophyte and releases spores. The spores produces new gametophyte and the liverworts develops short and small sporophytes. Yes, this is all. The liverworts develop short and small sporo. Yes, so this is about the life cycle of the bryophytes. They have dominant, they always have this dominant gametophyte over sporophyte. Yes, the alternation of generation is basically present. The zygote develops into a sporophyte, yes, and the spore develops into a new leafy gametophyte. Here's a question for you, children. Here's a question for you, children. Which of the following is the dominant phase of the life cycle of bryophytes? Which is the dominant phase of the bryophytes? Yes, you know, just now we have discussed about it. The dominant phase of the bryophyte is the gametophyte is the dominant stage of the bryophytes. Yes, everybody knows that the gametophyte is the dominant stage. So this is all about the whole characteristics of the bryophytes. Yes, the bryophytes are the amphibians of plant kingdom. They are basically divided into three classes: Hepaticopsida, Bryopsida, Anthracopsida. We have seen the life cycle. We have seen how the asexual reproduction through gemma cups are basically present, how archegoniophore and anthridiophore develops, gives the rise to the gametes. The gamete fusion gives to rise to a diploid zygote and eventually develops into a sporophyte. There is an alternation of generation also seen, and children, basically the sex organs are called antheridia and the female sex organs are called archegoniophore. Yes. So, children, as you know, the capsule which are basically present, as you can see in the Bryopsida, there is a capsule which have spore mother cell which undergo the process of meiosis. Reductional division gave rise to meiospores which eventually develop into a leafy gametophyte. Yes, they also have this protonema stage which eventually develop into a leafy gametophytic stage. So, this is all about the bryophytes, detailed discussion about the bryophytes, children. Tomorrow we are going to have a practice session. All the things we have studied today, we are going to have a practice session tomorrow. Okay, so please do not forget to join us for the practice session on the Embibe app, because the Embibe gives you an ability for you to answer the questions directly. Okay, so rather than commenting in the chat box, you can answer directly on the Embibe app. But before we go, children, you know, children, some vascular plants are produced through these spores. They are called cryptograms. Yes, we are going to discuss about the next topic of the plant kingdom. But before that, you know, children, there is a question for you again. What do the antheridium and archegonium produces? The antheridium and archegonium produces the anthrozoites and the egg, the female and the male gametophyte. Which among the following is not a class of Bryophyta? The Chlorophyceae is a class of algae. Everybody knows this. So, this is the Embibe app. As you know, children, what you have to do, you can log in through your phone number or your email ID. Select this, select your particular board. You can log into the 11th CBSE, select your respective language and land on this page. Click on the home page button, join the Embibe live classes, and of course, you can always join us on the Embibe app. These are the upcoming sessions, children. Tomorrow is the practice session. These are the past Embibe live classes. You can learn, you can yourself practice, and you can test yourself and see how much progress you have made. And this amazing another app of the Embibe, which is the Embibe Lens app. Just scan the text, see everything in the 3D. Please do. This is an amazing app. Have an amazing visual learning experience. We will meet again tomorrow at the same timing to discuss respective questions towards the bryophytes. Until then, keep imbibing. Take care. Bye-bye.
Keep imbibing. We believe in you.